D-Lo for boxing. All right, y'all. So I had to speak on this. So I was gonna get to it anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and get it out. David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. Two guys that are considered to be two of the top at 168 pounds. We've seen Caleb Plant become champion for the IBF, have a few fences, tried to unify with Canelo Alvarez, and came up short. Actually, that was an undisputed bout, and he came up short. In my opinion, he was winning the fight, got stopped late. According to the judge's scorecards, he wasn't in the fight, but that's not how I saw the fight. When it comes to David Benavidez, the guy has been WBC champion at 168 two times. He lost his belt once for substance, for basically failing a drug test, and then the second time he lost the belt on the scales. But still an undefeated fighter. Really hasn't been, in my opinion, in a fight where he came close to losing. Yeah, he was dropped versus Ronald Gabriel years ago. I think that was in his fight to win the vacant title at 100 for the WBC at 168 years ago. And other than that, he hasn't really had a lot of danger in his fights. He uses his size to his advantage. He has fast hands. He has active hands. Doesn't have the best footwork, best foot placement in the fights, but he's good at tracking guys down. He's good at putting guys on the defensive, and if he corners a guy, he knows how to turn up the volume and get them out of there, get them in trouble. Caleb Plant, more of a technician in there, an outboxer, if you will, but also a guy who can mix it up when he chooses to. Caleb Plant got my respect when he made me eat crow versus when he fought Jose Uzcategui. I think I picked Caleb Plant to lose that fight via knockout. And he basically came out early and put hurt on Uzcategui and got his respect. And then down the stretch, he started to wear down. Caleb Plant did, and he kind of survived, if you will, to get the win by unanimous decision. But Uzcategui was coming on strong late, so Caleb Plant wasn't able to take advantage of all the good work he done early and get Uzcategui out of there, even get him in trouble late. But he did enough early to put himself in position to where he could coast. Basically, he could make it to a win by not having his best fight down the stretch. In more recent fights, well, I'll just throw this one out there. The most common fight between both guys, they both fought Anthony Durrell, former champion in his own right, at 168. Both guys stopped him in the ninth round, albeit probably about a year and a half. Well, better than 2 years apart when they stopped him. But at the same time, well, I'm sure it was over 2 years. But at the same time, Durrell was, in both situations, he was coming off of good wins going into the fight. But that said, you can't use triangle theories to say how somebody would fare, but I do find it, kind of ironic that both guys got a ninth round stoppage over Durrell. Very respected fighter. I don't think anybody else has. I think those two guys are the only two to have knockout wins over Anthony Durrell, if I'm not mistaken. But as for how they match up against one another, I think David Benavidez coming into this fight, he looks like he's basically, he's said himself that he's taking this fight a lot more serious, taking his training camp more serious. He's gotten in shape a lot sooner than he usually does for fight. He says he's already close to fight weight, if not on weight. And, he's going to come in there ready to go. So he's guaranteeing a knockout, saying he's going to knock Caleb Plant out inside of 6 rounds. Caleb Plant says he always takes fights serious, always comes prepared, always on weight, always in shape, always motivated. And he says he's going to win the fight. He's guaranteeing he's going to get his hand raised. So you got two fighters guaranteeing victory. You got two fighters who are hungry, two fighters who got something to prove. But when it comes to how they match up with one another, you got two different styles. You got one guy who is a kind of a plodding, come forward type of fighter, but he's good at throwing combinations himself, has good power, good knockout ratio, relentless pressure, accumulation of punches type guy. And then you got another guy who is considered more of the cutesy, slicker fighter who has respectable power in his own right, chooses his punches well, kind of transitions from offense to defense very well, but not a guy who likes to really just stand in there and stay in the trenches, stay in harm's way too long. So it's kind of one of those fights where, to me, who's going to be able to impose their will early? We know Caleb Plant, asked for the bigger ring, which Benavidez agreed to. I think it's a 24-foot ring. I could be mistaken, may not be that big, but it's bigger than a standard ring. So conventional wisdom says that Caleb Plant's going to try to use every bit of that ring and stay on the outside and try to stay out of harm's way and, get in and get out. To me, I have to wonder if that's really what he's going to do, because that staying, getting in and getting out and staying away is what helped him, in my opinion, what had him ahead on the cards against Canelo, on my card, although it wasn't officially he was behind, but also the end result was he got stopped. And I think in this fight, if he does the same thing and his stamina fails him, he slows down, there's a good chance that David Benavidez comes on strong and could potentially stop him as well. I think Caleb Plant's best bet is to get respect early. Initially, when this fight first was announced, I said I had Plant knife round stoppage. I backed off of that. Just thinking about Benavidez's size, I think that, and by size, I mean, how big a guy he is in terms of mass. Not saying height-wise. I think from a height standpoint, they're pretty close. But I think that he'll be able to absorb a lot of the big shots from Plant. And even if he gets hurt and dropped or anything like that, I think he'll be able to recover. I think that he has youth on his side. I think he's a guy who he's used to making the weight. Maybe he's trained a little harder, and maybe it works against him, maybe it works for him. Because you can't overtrain, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think this time he may have done what he should have been doing in preparation for fights. But I don't think Caleb Plant's going to stop him. I do think that if there is a stoppage in this fight, I tend to lean toward Benavidez being the one getting the stoppage, depending on how the fight plays out, what Caleb Plant is able to do or isn't able to do, what he employs as a strategy, what Benavidez employs as a strategy. But I think ultimately the fight goes to a decision. I think one thing that's going to work against Benavidez is that he's going into this fight looking for a knockout. He said, not only is he saying and he's actually promising one, even when he was asked about his strategy, he talked about he wants to go in there and get a knockout in this fight. This isn't one where he's just going to let the knockout come. He's hunting the knockout. And a lot of times when you go hunt a knockout, it don't come. And a lot of times you can fall behind on the cards, hunt a knockout. For me, I think David Benavidez is going to be, I think he's going to find himself at a class deficit in this fight. I think Caleb Plant's seen more. He's done more. He has a deeper amateur pedigree. I think he has more tools in his bag. I think he has more variety of ways to win the fight, where I think Benavidez, his path to victory is to stalk Caleb Plant, get him against the ropes, and overwhelm him. And not necessarily in one series, but over the course of the fight, and maybe land one big shot to put him down and basically start all the bad things for Caleb Plant in the fight, start the downward spiral for him. But I think Caleb Plant's learned from what's happened to him in the past in his biggest fight of his career. I think he's gonna handle this one differently. I think he's going to fight an intelligent fight. I think he's going to step to Benavidez when he needs to, get his respect like he did against Uskatagi. I think he's gonna fight on the outside when he needs to, but I think he's not. I don't think he's going to be on the retreat as much because he knows it's gonna wear him down, wear his tank down, and all that's gonna do is give David Benavidez that much more confidence and motivation to come forward and feel like it's just a matter of time. He's going to be that much more relentless if Caleb Plant comes out and just start backing up immediately, or if he's backing up so much in the fight that Benavidez, feels like he doesn't want to engage. Now, the other flip side of that is that Benavidez could get frustrated if he can't catch him. If he's getting in and getting out and then, fighting off the back foot and Benavidez can't cut off the ring, if he can't corner him, if he can't trap him, then, of course, frustration sets in, then that may open up Benavidez for more shots from Caleb Plant. So, it's just a contrast of styles. It's about who's going to pose their will the most. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the most confident in this pick, and I wouldn't be any more confident if I was picking it the other way. I think this is a very close fight. I can see it going a lot of different ways, but I'm sticking with the pick I initially made, other than I'm coming off of that knife round stoppage. I'm going with Caleb Plant by decision. That's all I got on it. D-Lo 404 Boxing. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.